Search the whole earth from your sitting room. Not one person, from the day that the Quran was revealed to this day, not one human being has ever seen that barrier. There is a report in one of the books of Tafsir that the Khalifa had sent a delegation for search for the barrier. And they came back to say that they found it lying in ruins. But to this day, no one has seen the barrier standing. No one. So it looks as though they've been released. If you say they have not been released, you have a duty to the Quran. I'm talking to every single Darul Uloom in this country. If you say they have not been released, then at least this much integrity you should have. You should go and search for the barrier. And I'm saying to you, you can go and search, but you'll never find it. Because no one has ever seen it. None. So it looks as though they've been released. But we have something else to do before we proceed. Who are Gog and Magog? Allah created three kinds of beings. He created the angels, He created the jinn, and He created human beings. This is apart from plants and animals. So Gog and Magog have to be either angels, or jinn, or human beings. Why? Because plants don't commit fasad. And animals don't commit fasad. So we can eliminate plants and animals. Do angels commit fasad? No. وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. Angels act only on the basis of Allah's instruction. So eliminate angels. So Gog and Magog have to be either jinn or human beings. Can jinn commit fasad? Oh yes. And can human beings commit fasad? Oh yes. So now, are Gog and Magog jinn or human beings? Yes. You didn't only 5 rupees worth of intelligence, not more than that, to know that you cannot contain jinn with a barrier made of blocks of iron. Only 5 rupees worth of common sense. The jinn can pass over the barrier. The jinn can pass through the barrier. Yeah. So the implication is that Gog and Magog have to be human beings, nothing else. Good. Where do human beings live? The Quran answers. The Quran says that when Allah sent Adam alayhi salam and mankind on earth, He says, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌ. That you are going to live on earth. The Quran never said you're going to live inside the interior of the earth, the bowels of the earth. Again, only 5 rupees worth of intelligence, that's all, not much. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌ وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَى حِينٍ. Then you'll be provided with your sustenance, your veggies and your milk and your meat from the earth. The interior of the earth don't have any animals. No cows down there, no goats down there, no sheep down there. I have to restrain my anger because I don't know where these people came from, Mars or Venus or Jupiter or where. They say Gog and Magog living down in the interior of the earth, and in doing so they disrespect the Quran and they insult their own intelligence. Manifest disrespect for the Quran, worse than schoolboys. And they are insulting their own intelligence. Because Allah says, I sent you on earth. On earth you will live. And the earth will provide you with your sustenance, your roti. Therefore, if Gog and Magog are human beings, how on earth can they be living down in the interior of the earth? If any hadith says that, would it not be in conflict with the Quran? So let us dispose of that, excuse my language, that rubbish, and proceed. When Zulqarnain traveled in the direction of the setting of the sun, he gave a demonstration of the use of power. That power is used to punish the oppressor, to punish those who are wicked and unjust, who commit zulm. And when he traveled in the direction of the rising of the sun, he gave another demonstration of the use of power, when power rests on the foundations of faith. And that is, power respects the rights of people, even when they are primitive people. And so when the second of the two currents is to occur, it will have to be after Gog and Magog have been released. Are you following? There are two currents. This is the first. A second is to come. When will the second come? It'll have to be after Gog and Magog is released. Then you can have the second current. Why? Because in the first current, he checkmated Gog and Magog. So in the second current, he will have to checkmate Gog and Magog again. Are you following me? So in between, what's going to happen? The first and the second come. In between, the barrier will be brought down, and Gog and Magog will be released. And when they are released, now there will be a power so powerful in the world that even Zulqarnain cannot destroy them. That's the kind of power it is. We can now leave the Quran, having established the foundation on the Quran, to go to the Hadith. And the Hadith confirms what is in the Quran. Look at my methodology. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, in the Hadith al-Qudsi. You know what's the Hadith al-Qudsi? Oh, I don't have time to check you out today. Hadith al-Qudsi is the direct speech of Allah, but not in the Quran, it's in the Hadith. I have created, this is Sahih Muslim, I have created creatures of mine, Allah is speaking, so powerful that none but I can destroy them. That's why Zulqarnain had to build the barrier. So when they are released, what kind of world will it be? It's going to be a terrible, terrible, terrible world, because there will be no power in the world who will stand up to them. None. None. They will be the most powerful force in the world. And they will use their power exactly the opposite way to Zulqarnain. And so when Gog and Magog are released, power will now rest on foundations which are godless. And power will now be used to oppress. And power will not respect the rights of people, will not respect those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct, but will target them. And power will not respect the rights of the primitive people. The primitive peoples on the face of the earth are going to be wiped out when Gog and Magog are released. Because this is the opposite to the demonstration of power from Zulkarnain. So it looks as though they have been released. Because that's what we've been experiencing for the last few hundred years. I don't know whether you had your biryani and then you went to sleep for a few hundred years, but the rest of us, what we have seen these last few hundred years in the world is we've seen power. Power resting on foundations which are essentially godless. Power so powerful that none could stand up to it. And power being used ruthlessly to oppress. And power being used to destroy without any regard whatsoever for human rights. Destroy the primitive way of life. And so now they are in settlements, the natives in a settlement. And usually there's a beer factory or wine factory at the beginning, so they all drink alcohol and they would not be conscious of where they are. The primitive peoples are being wiped out all over the world. So for those who have not been eating biryani and going to sleep, the rest of us, it looks very much as though the evidence is plain and clear. Not only is the barrier gone because nobody can see it anymore, but also for the last few hundred years, power in the world has been resting on foundations which are essentially godless. And that power has been used in these last few hundred years exactly the opposite way to that of Zulkarnain, to oppress and to destroy and to target those who have faith and are righteous in conduct and to destroy the primitive way of life. So, where is the evidence then from the Quran? Have they been released? There are only 2 verses in the Quran, only 2, which makes mention of Gog and Magog. Only 2. So you have to be blind to miss it. Huh? The first one is in Surah Al-Kahf. And we already mentioned it to you. إِنَّ يَأْجُوجَ وَمَأْجُوجَ مُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Surely Gog and Magog are committing fasad in our land. Fasad. Now where is the second one? Only 2, eh? The second reference to Gog and Magog in the Quran is located in Surah Al-Anbiya. But remember that Allah sent down the Quran لِقَوْمِ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Yes. And He also sent down in the Quran 2 kinds of verses. Ayat muhkamat, which are plain and clear, and ayat mutashabihat, which have to be interpreted. So without the interpretation you will not get the meaning. Allah could have said, eat and drink in the nights of Ramadan, eat and drink until the light of the day is distinct from the darkness of the night, and then begin the fast. Did He say that? No. He didn't say that. He said, eat and drink until the white thread of dawn is distinct from the black thread. Why did He do that? When He could have said, eat and drink until the light of the day is distinct from the darkness of the night. One companion put the white thread and the black thread underneath his pillow, and in the morning he looked at it to see when to start the fast. And he was having some difficulty. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ, who only now, not before, you must think. This Quran is not going to open its doors to you unless you think. What can I do if you refuse to think? What can I do for the Darul Uloom if they don't want to think? What can I do? Those of us who use the thinking capacity, Allah will be pleased and Allah will bless you with knowledge. And the rest will remain like cattle. So the man went to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, when Allah said the white thread and black thread, what he meant by that was where the light of the day is distinct from the darkness of the night. At this time the Prophet gave this ta'wil or interpretation, not before. Good. And so now Allah speaks in the Quran and He speaks of a town. Did He mention the name of the town? No. Because you got to think. And He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وحرام على قرية أهلكناها أنهم لا يرجعون. A town has been destroyed. Allah destroyed it. The people have been expelled. Allah expelled them for their wickedness. And having expelled them, He placed a ban on them that they could never return to this town to reclaim it as their own. Kabhi nahi. Which town is this? And then comes the second ayah. حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. That the people of this town are banned. They can never return to this town until Allah brings down that barrier. And Gog and Magog are released. And when they are released with their indestructible power, they spread out in all directions, and therefore they take control of power in the world. Is that so difficult to understand? When that happens, then these people will be brought back to this town from which they had been expelled. There are many ways by which we can recognize the town, but unfortunately, we prefer to eat biryani and go home and sleep. It is so sad. And no matter how much I lecture on this subject, they say no, we prefer to eat biryani and go home and sleep. And even after tonight's lecture, they will still respond the same way, but not you and not the young people in this country. The young people in this country will listen to me and say, if they refuse to think, leave them away and go forward. Leave them aside and move forward if they don't want to think. That's how the young people in this country will respond. One of the first ways to identify the town is that the Quran identified it. The Quran explains qarn. Which qarn is it? Is it a horn Or is it an age or an epoch for people? So the Quran again explains the Qariya. It is the Surah Al-Baqarah, around 257, I think. I just checked it out. And Allah speaks about a town. And a traveler is passing by the town. أو كالذي مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها, a town which is lying in ruins. And this traveler says, I don't know, how can Allah ever revive this to life? It's destroyed, finished. And then Allah caused him to die for 100 years. And then raised him back to life. And when he came back to life after 100 years, how long have you been here? Maybe a day or part of a day. Okay, look at your food. Lam yatasanna. I don't have a biryani. The food is still fresh. Now look at your donkey. The donkey starved to death. The flesh of the donkey rotted, bones remained, and then the bones turned to dust in 100 years. So Allah then caused the donkey to come back to life to show him how he can bring life back to the dead. And the commentator of the Quran, Ibn Kathir, confidently declares that this town is Jerusalem. Here's one example of the Quran using the term Qariya for Jerusalem. Your homework now is to go and search the Quran. I have to give you some homework. And see where else in the Quran has Allah used the word Qariya. And the commentators of the Quran have recognized it to be Jerusalem. So we can use this method to identify the Qariya or town as Jerusalem. There's another way we can do it. And that is that this town is connected with Gog and Magog. Because Gog and Magog are going to be the ones who will bring the people back to the town. And Gog and Magog belong to Alamat as-Sa'ah. And proper methodology is to take all the Alamat as-Sa'ah as a whole and see what is that which binds them together harmoniously. And when you take all the Alamat as-Sa'ah, all the signs of the last day, in which Gog and Magog are located, and to see what is that nucleus, that central power, central figure, around which all the rest of Alamat as-Sa'ah revolves, it is the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. وَإِنَّهُ, when you recite the Quran in Surah Al-Zukhruf, you'll find the Quran that you have now in your hand saying, وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. Oh, really? Ilmun lisan. You know what that means? That he is the knowledge of the hour, which implies that the knowledge of the hour is with him. He is the knowledge of the hour. Not he is the sign of the hour. He is the knowledge of the hour. That the knowledge of the hour is with him. And even the Christians predict that. Even the Gospel says, the Son of God does not know when the last hour will come. Only the Father knows. That's what is in the Gospel today, up to today. Only the Father knows, the Son doesn't know. So if the Gospel is telling you, you're reading the Quran wrongly. Because the ilm as-sa'ah is only with Allah. Only with Allah. So it should be read the other way. There are two ways of reading it. Two ways. Many verses of the Quran are like that. They admit of two readings. Either وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ وَإِنَّهُ لَعَلَمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. Obviously, this is the one that fits. وَإِنَّهُ لَعَلَمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. He is the sign par excellence of Akhir Zaman. So Gog and Magog have to fit with the signs of Akhir Zaman, which all revolve around Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And so the Qarya has to be a Qarya which fits also in this link to Akhir Zaman. Which Qarya it is in the world which is linked with Nabi Isa alayhi salam? Is it Washington? No. There's only one city in the world, important city in the world, connected with Nabi Isa alayhi salam, and that is Jerusalem, where the temple is located, Masjid al-Aqsa. And he went into the masjid, and he turned over their tables, and he chased them out of the masjid, and he said, "You've taken the house of Allah and transformed it into a den of thieves." So this is the second way of identifying the town as Jerusalem. Okay? There's the third way of identifying the town as Jerusalem. We said that this town is connected with Gog and Magog, because this Gog and Magog will bring them back to the town. So we take all the ahadith on Gog and Magog, all of them. There are 11 in Sahih Bukhari, but there's total about 51 completely. And see whether in any of these ahadith is there a link between Gog and Magog and a town. Yes, there is. Yes. When Gog and Magog are released, they will pass by the Sea of Galilee on their way to Baytul Maqdis, Jerusalem. Do we need to go further? Or have we already established now to your satisfaction that when Allah says, وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ, that the town he's speaking of is Jerusalem. And when he spoke about the people the town was destroyed, it was Jerusalem, and the people who were expelled were Banu Israel. And then a ban was placed on them for 2,000 years, they could not return. So when you see the Jews being brought back to the Holy Land, now listen to me carefully. The Quran is speaking now. When you see the Jews being brought back to the Holy Land, to Jerusalem, to reclaim it as their own, and those who are bringing them back are people who use power to oppress, you know that Gog and Magog have been released. And it is Gog and Magog who have brought them back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own.